right, before we go on the record, victim family member who was by Zoom apparently dropped off at some point. Is he intending to come back on?
We are not aware. We have made him aware of the link, and it's our understanding he is connecting at the library. So we don't know if he's coming back on.
All right, so can we go ahead?
I think that, yes, we can proceed.
Okay.
He knows what time the court was supposed to start back up, and that he needs to be back on, ready to go when the court's ready to proceed.
Very good. All right, let's go back on the record. Anything before we bring in the jury?
So just sort of housekeeping as far as schedule. We did pick a jury faster than we anticipated. So two of our sort of citizen witnesses, Robin Reels and attorney David Lang, are not available today. So the people that are available are Jason Bake, Diana Free, Heather Doherty, and Katie Gordon, correct? Not Katie. I'm sorry. So Jason Bake, Diana Free, and Heather Doherty are the three citizen witnesses that are available today. Obviously, Captain Bake is not a citizen witness, but if we get through those three people, that's all we have available today. We will be ahead of schedule, though, as far as our schedule is concerned. So we can break after that, I understand, and we'll be, after that, it's all law enforcement moving forward, and there will not be a situation where we get to the end of the day and someone's not available to fill in testimony. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's the trial life. Thank you.
Let's get as much done as we possibly can today. There's nothing wrong with being ahead of schedule.
I could take a peek also at those end limbs to see if there are any issues after we're done with witnesses today. We can address that.
oh,
Also, thank you, Your Honor, and court security for providing us with a room. We have it. Thank you. And lastly, for opening, can we move the podium? Are we free to move around the well? Or do you want us to stand
Counsel,
behind?
we'll move actually, we can move the podium a little closer, but I would prefer that you not, I mean, you can move about as you deem appropriate, but I'm hoping that doesn't mean that you're going to be leaning on the rail.
No, not for opening anyway.
There you go. All right. Bring in the jury, please. And just a reminder, we're going to all remain seated.
you're gonna have to remind. I stayed seated.
What's that?
I said I stayed seated. These guys.
Everybody stay seated.
I'm gonna put a post-it note. Stay seated for the jury.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we broke, Whoa.
Hold on, I was gonna say we have an empty chair.
There you go. 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we broke, I gave you some instructions, specifically that you should not discuss the case. Is there anybody who did not? If you did not comply with that instruction, please raise your hand. Before the trial begins, there are certain instructions you should have to better understand your function as a juror and how you should conduct yourselves during the trial. Your duty is to decide this case based upon the evidence presented and the law given to you by this court. Anything that you may see or hear outside the courtroom is not evidence. All people deserve a fair trial in our system of justice, regardless of their race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, education level, income level, or other personal characteristics. You must be careful to evaluate the evidence and resist any urge to reach a verdict that is influenced by bias for or against any party, witness, or attorney. Personal opinions, preferences, or biases have no place in the courtroom, where our goal is to treat all parties equally and to arrive at a just and proper verdict based upon the evidence. Do not begin your deliberations and discussions of the case until all the evidence is presented and I've instructed you upon the law. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communication. Do not use any electronic devices such as mobile phones, computer, text, or instant message, social networking sites to send or to receive information about your experience as a juror. We will stop or recess from time to time during the course of the trial. You may be excused from the courtroom when it's necessary for me to hear legal arguments of the lawyers. If you come into contact with the parties, lawyers, or witnesses, do not speak to them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, and witnesses will not contact or speak with you, the jurors. Do not listen to any conversation about this case. Do not research any information that you personally think might be helpful to you in understanding the issues presented. Do not investigate this case on your own or visit the scene, either in person or by electronic means. Do not read any newspaper reports or listen to any news reports or on the radio, television, or over the internet, or any other electronic application or tool about this trial. Do not consult any dictionaries, computers, electronic applications, social media, the internet, or other reference materials for additional information. Do not seek information regarding the public records of any party or witness in this case. Any information that you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading, inaccurate, or incomplete. Relying on that information is unfair because the parties would not have the opportunity to refute, to explain, or to correct it. Do not communicate with anyone about this trial or your experience as a juror while serving on the jury. Do not use a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device, including personal wearable electronics applications or tools with communication capabilities to share any information about this case. For example, do not communicate by telephone, blog, post, email, text message, instant message, social media post, or any other way on or off the computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you about this matter, either in person, electronically, or by other means. If anyone does so, despite you telling them not to, you should report that communication to me. I appreciate that it will be tempting for you when you go home in the evening to discuss this case with another member of your household. but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based upon the evidence presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision of the case. After the trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. These rules are intended to assure that jurors remain impartial throughout the course of the trial. If any juror has any reason to believe that another juror has violated these rules, you should report that to me. If jurors do not comply with these rules, it could result in a new trial involving additional time and significant expense to the parties and to the taxpayers. You are to decide this case only on the evidence offered and received at trial. The first count charges that the defendant did on Tuesday, June 11, 2024, in the town of Clyman, Dodge County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Crystal Ann Rasch with intent to kill that person, contrary to Wisconsin statute. To this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. First-degree intentional homicide is defined in 940.01 of the Criminal Code of the state of Wisconsin as committed by one who causes the death of another human being with intent to kill that person or another. Before you may find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present. First, the defendant caused the death of Crystal Rasch. Cause means that the defendant's act was a substantial factor in producing the death. Second, the defendant acted with intent to kill Crystal Rasch. Intent to kill means the defendant had the mental purpose to take the life of another human being or was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause the death of another human being. While the law requires that the defendant acted with intent to kill, it does not require that the intent exist for a particular length of time before the act is committed. The act need not be brooded over, considered, or reflected upon for a week, a day, an hour, or even a minute. There need not be any appreciable time between the formation of intent and the act. The intent to kill may be formed at any time before the act, including the instant before the act, and must continue to exist at the time of the act. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent to kill must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all other facts and circumstances, in this case, bearing upon intent. Intent should not be confused with motive. While proof of intent is necessary to a conviction, proof of motive is not. Motive refers to a person's reason for doing something. While motive may be shown as a circumstance to aid in establishing the guilt of the defendant, the state is not required to prove motive on the part of a defendant in order to convict. Evidence of motive does not by itself establish guilt. You should give it the weight that you believe it deserves under all of the circumstances. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant caused the death of the victim, Crystal Rasch, with the intent to kill, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. The second count charges that the defendant between June 12, 2024 and June 25, 2024 in the town of Clyman, Dodge County, Wisconsin, did mutilate a corpse with intent to conceal a crime. This in violation of Wisconsin statute. To this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove by every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Section 940.11 sub 1 of the Criminal Code of the State of Wisconsin is violated by one who mutilates, disfigures, or dismembers a corpse with intent to conceal a crime or to avoid apprehension, prosecution, or conviction for a crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of this offense, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present. First, the defendant mutilated a corpse. Second, that the defendant mutilated the corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. This requires the defendant acted with the purpose to conceal a crime. You cannot look into a person's mind to find out intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of this offense have been proved, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. In reaching your verdict, examine the evidence with care and caution. Act with judgment, reason, and prudence. Defendants are not required to prove their innocence. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of an offense to be innocent. This presumption requires a finding of not guilty unless in your deliberations you find that it is overcome by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. The burden of establishing every fact necessary to constitute guilt is upon the state. Before you can return a verdict of guilty, the state must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. If you can reconcile the evidence upon any reasonable hypothesis consistent with the defendant's innocence, you must do so and return a verdict of not guilty. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given, arising from a fair and rational consideration of the evidence or lack of evidence. It means such a doubt as would cause a person of ordinary prudence to pause or to hesitate when called upon to act in the most important affairs of life. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based upon mere guesswork or speculation. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from fear to return a verdict of guilt is not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. While it is your duty to give the defendant the benefit of every reasonable doubt, you are not to search for doubt, you are to search for the truth. Evidence is, first, the sworn testimony of the witnesses on direct and cross-examination, regardless of who called the witness. Second, the exhibits the court has received, whether or not the exhibit goes to the jury room. Third, any facts which lawyers have agreed or stipulated or which the court has directed you to find. Attorneys for each side have the right and the duty to object to what they consider are improper questions asked of witnesses and to the admission of other evidence which they believe is not properly admissible. You should not draw any conclusions from the fact that an objection was made. By allowing the testimony or other evidence to be received over objection of counsel, the court is not indicating any opinion about the evidence. The jurors are the judges of the credibility and of the witnesses and the weight to be given to the evidence. You are not required to, but you may take notes during the course of the trial, except during the opening statements and closing arguments. The court will provide you materials to do so. In taking notes, you must be careful that it does not distract you from carefully listening to and observing the witnesses. You may rely upon your notes to refresh your memory during the course of your deliberations, otherwise keep them confidential. After the trial, the notes will be collected and destroyed. You will not have a copy of the written transcript of the trial testimony available to you during your deliberations. You should pay careful attention to all of the testimony because you must rely primarily on your memory of the evidence and the testimony introduced during the course of the trial. During the course of the trial, the attorneys will refer to or use police reports with the witnesses. Normally, the police reports will not be provided to you. If you are not provided with a police report, you should use your collective memory regarding any reference to the police report. It is the duty of the jury to scrutinize and to weigh the testimony of the witnesses and determine its effect on the evidence as a whole. You are the sole judges of the credibility, that is, the believability of the witnesses and the weight to be given to the testimony. In your determination of credibility, you must avoid bias, conscious or unconscious, based upon the witness's race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, education, income level, or other personal characteristics. In determining the credibility of each witness and the weight that you give to the testimony, consider these factors. Whether the witness has an interest or lack of interest in the result of the trial, the witness's conduct, appearance, and demeanor on the witness stand, the clearness or lack of clearness of the witness's recollection, the opportunity the witness had for observing and for knowing the matters of the witness testified about, the reasonableness of the witness's testimony, the apparent intelligence of the witness, bias or prejudice if any is shown, possible motives for falsifying testimony, and all other facts and circumstances during the trial that tend to either to support or to discredit the testimony. Then give to the testimony of each witness the weight that you believe it should receive. There is no magic way for you to evaluate the testimony. Instead, you should use your common sense and experience. In everyday life, you determine for yourselves the reliability of things people say to you. You should do the same thing here. The lawyers will now make their opening statements. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the lawyers the opportunity to tell you what they expect the evidence will show so that you will be better able to understand the evidence as it's introduced during the course of the trial. I must caution you, however, opening statements are not evidence. Attorney Will.
Attorney Willer will do the opening, but can we have the projector, please?
I'm sorry?
We need to switch to state's table, right? Do you think it's right or left? This side?
You're going to use some electronics during your...
Yes.
All right, thank you. Left or right?
All right.
My left.
And while we're getting set up, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. I have the mic on now. Is everyone able to hear all right? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you again for being here, for showing up for jury duty, for going through all those uncomfortable questions and that whole process. But thank you for showing up, and I thank you for your attention as we go through this trial. This is Crystal Rasch. She was married to Zach Rasch. She had children with Zach Rasch. She's going through a divorce with Zach. Now this is Crystal and Zach on June 11th of 2024, together at Culver's in Oconomowoc, just before 10:30, 10:27. And this is Crystal Rasch and Zach Rasch walking in the parking lot of Goodwill in Oconomowoc again on June 11th, 2024, just before 11 o'clock. And this video is the last image that captures Crystal Rasch alive. As Crystal walked alongside Zach on that June morning, Crystal was a dead woman walking. The man beside her, her husband, Zach Rasch, is the man who killed her. That is what this case is about. Crystal was a woman who was alive, who had children, who had a future, who had plans, and who was last seen alive with the defendant, Zach Rasch. The evidence will show that in June of 2024, Crystal Rasch was not a woman preparing to disappear. She was not preparing to abandon her children, to give up on the divorce. She was not preparing to abandon the life that she was trying to build for herself. You will hear that a divorce was filed between Crystal and Zach, but you'll hear that Crystal was positive, optimistic about that, optimistic about her future. You'll hear that she was trying to become more independent, including working towards having her own place. You'll hear that though her children were not in her custody, that though there was a pending termination of parental rights, both for her and for Zach, that she was continuing to maintain that relationship with her kids. And that she had every reason to believe that that relationship would continue. You'll hear that she remained involved with her children. She maintained regular visitation. She regularly communicated about them. She was not a woman fading out of her own life, but a woman still trying to hold on to the parts that mattered most. You will hear that she was hopeful, that she was making plans, that she was moving forward. And then all that stopped. Crystal disappeared. Here's a calendar for reference, as we're going to be talking a lot about dates. On June 10th, you'll hear that Heather Doherty, the foster parent for Crystal's children, received a message that Crystal would miss that next day's visit with her kids. You'll hear that Heather responded and sent Crystal photos of the kids, including a photo about one of the children's kindergarten graduation, but that Crystal never responded to those pictures, never commented on them. And that was extremely unusual for Crystal, to not comment about pictures sent to her about her children. And in fact, you'll hear that Heather never heard from Crystal again. And from that point forward, the evidence will show that everyone in Crystal's orbit, stopped hearing from Crystal. Jumping forward now to June 23rd. On June 23rd, Crystal Rasch is reported missing. The call first goes to patrol to look into it. Patrol Deputy Zachary Kukan is dispatched. He first speaks to Diana Free, Crystal's stepmother, and the person who made the missing persons report. And he starts trying to determine where Crystal might be, who was the last person to hear from her. You will see Deputy Kukan makes contact then with the defendant on his property outside his residence on Wood Road in the town of Clyman. And you'll see Deputy Kukan's squad and body camera capturing that interaction. And I just ask you guys to watch that carefully. When Deputy Kukan arrives, the defendant does not simply walk to the law enforcement officer in the squad to speak to him. Instead, you will see him come from the area that we will eventually learn is in the area of a burn pit. And he goes to a vehicle, closes a trunk, and then, and only then, does he go and speak to Deputy Kukan. After that contact, Deputy Kukan goes to speak with Robin Reels, a close friend of Crystal's. And while he's there with Robin, in real time, Robin starts to receive Facebook messages that are purported to be from Crystal. But Robin will tell you that these messages are coming from a different account, Facebook account, than what she's used to from Crystal. And that these messages did not sound like Crystal. The wording was wrong. The style was wrong. And whoever was sending these messages wouldn't do the one thing that would have proved that it was Crystal, which is get on the phone, get on video, and show themselves. At this point, the case is turned over to the Detective Bureau. And on June 25th, Detectives Justin Cotney and Andrew Rolfs are assigned. They go to Crystal's residence and they go into her bedroom. And there they find her calendar. A like a month calendar similar to like this. And that catches their attention because that calendar, that month of June, has appointments, whatever, what have you, written out on it. And each day is crossed off. Up until June 9th. Every day is crossed off until June 9th and then nothing. So investigators begin tracing Crystal's financial activity. They contact her bank and they obtain her debit card transaction information. And they see that transactions from Crystal Rasch's debit card take place after Crystal has effectively disappeared from her life. So they begin pulling surveillance of those transactions. They begin sort of working backwards. One of the first surveillance videos that they look at is from Menards in Beaver Dam on June 23rd. The same day, earlier in the day, that Deputy Kukan made contact. And what do they find? Not Crystal, but the defendant. The evidence will show that the defendant used Crystal Rasch's debit card to purchase, on that date, from Menards, 6 32-ounce bottles of Santeen drain cleaner, which is highly concentrated sulfuric acid. Continuing to look into this, the investigators learned that on June 22nd, the day prior, the defendant used Crystal's debit card, this time at Menards in Johnson's Creek, for 2 32-ounce containers of that same drain cleaner. The evidence will show that the defendant used Crystal's debit card several other times and places during the month of June, after Crystal had effectively disappeared. On June 16th, at Blaine Farm and Fleet, Ace Hardware, and Walmart in Watertown. On June 18th, Quick Trip and Walmart in Beaver Dam. On June 19th, at Walmart in Watertown. On June 20th, at Blaine's Farm and Fleet and Quick Trip in Watertown. On June 22nd, at Speedway and Walmart in Watertown. On June 23rd, at Walmart and Quick Trip in Beaver Dam. And you will see evidence that some of those transactions involve purchasing cleaning products, stain remover, upholstery cleaner, seat covers, air fresheners, and drain cleaner. And some were simply just ATM cash withdrawals. But the evidence will show one fact that runs through all of those transactions. Crystal is not there. She's not in the videos, the surveillance videos. She's not in the vehicle in the parking lot. She's nowhere in sight. The defendant is alone, using Crystal's money. Now, at this point, investigators seek and obtain a search warrant for that Wood Road property in the town of Clyman, Dodge County. And that search warrant is executed on June 26th. Inside the residence, law enforcement finds several receipts connected to some of those debit card transactions among the defendant's property. They locate a large amount of cash, and they locate a 9mm Taurus handgun and a holster. Outside in the property, they find multiple burn areas and hone in on one of them, and there they find a tooth and a bone fragment known as the Petrus Pyramid. Now, you'll hear from a forensic dentist, Dr. Ledros, that the tooth matched known dental records for Crystal Rasch. And you'll hear testimony explaining what the Petrus Pyramid is, a dense part of the bone at the base of the skull, from which DNA can sometimes still be recovered, even after burning. You'll hear that Petrus Pyramid was sent to an outside lab, and a DNA profile was developed from that bone, and that DNA profile was consistent with a DNA profile developed for Crystal Rasch. Now, at about the same time as this investigation is going into this Wood Road property, law enforcement is also tracing the movement of the defendant, his defendant's vehicle, through flock camera information, which shows that that vehicle traveled towards the Wisconsin Dells area. Detective Cotney learns that the defendant's family has property in Adams County towards the Dells. Investigators determined that the defendant traveled to Adams County on June 24th, the day after Deputy Kukan first made contact with him. A search warrant is obtained for that Adams County property, and there, on that property, investigators find the defendant's Mitsubishi Eclipse parked near a camper. Now, the evidence will show that this Mitsubishi Eclipse, this vehicle, was the vehicle that the defendant was using when he was with Crystal on June 11th. When they were seen together at Culver's, when they're in the parking lot of Goodwill, and the last image that we have of Crystal alive. But the evidence will also show that beginning the evening of June 11th and continuing in the surveillance videos from the debit card transactions that followed, the defendant is no longer using that Mitsubishi. He's using different vehicles, a Dodge Ram and a Chevy Cobalt. So when investigators locate the Mitsubishi hidden away on the Adams County property, they're finding the very vehicle that he was using when Crystal was last seen alive with him. And inside the Mitsubishi, they find blood. The evidence will show blood saturated into the seatbelt, blood in the area of the front passenger seat and front passenger door, that it looked like someone had tried to clean, but not nearly well enough. Samples are taken and tested, and the evidence will show that the blood in that vehicle is consistent with a DNA profile developed for Crystal Rasch. Now, during the execution of the June 26th search warrant on the Wood Road property, investigators also seize the defendant's cell phone. They get a search warrant for that. They examine it. And then they learn what the defendant had been searching. And I ask you to pay attention not only to the content of those searches, but to the timing of those searches. The evidence will show that on May 28th, 2024, nearly a month before Crystal was reported missing, the defendant visited a website asking, "Do you die instantly from a gunshot to the head?" He visited a site about the difference between a headshot and a chest shot. He searched, "Will a gunshot to the head instant death?" And he searched, "Will a 9mm kill an animal if shot to the head?" On June 6th, June 6th, just days before Crystal's last seen alive, the defendant searched, "How long can you get widow's benefits? And can you get widow's benefits if taxes were never filed?" So even before Crystal is even gone from the story, before anyone's even looking for her, the evidence will show that the defendant was searching about fatal headshot wounds and widow's benefits. Then on June 11th, the same day that Crystal is last seen alive with the defendant again searched whether a 9mm would kill if shot to the head. Then after June 11th, the searches change in nature. On June 12th, he searched carpet cleaner and visited carpet cleaners at Menards. On June 14th, he searched, "Do raccoons eat bones?" On June 19th, he searched 2023 Eclipse cross replacement passenger seat and visited a site for a Mitsubishi Eclipse cross front bucket seat. On June 22nd, he searched, "Can you clean a vehicle interior with cold water? Do opossums eat bones? Is sulfuric acid flammable? And what happens when you add gas to sulfuric acid?" Then the searches turned towards law enforcement and warrants. He visited a website titled Basic Guide to Fourth Amendment Protections. He searched can police get search warrants on Sunday in Wisconsin? He searched how fast can police get a warrant? And later that same day, he searched Wisconsin missing person alert, missing people in Wisconsin, and active missing persons near me. On June 24th, he again searched about sulfuric acid and what happens when you add gas to it. And on June 25th, he returned yet again to searches for Wisconsin missing person alert, active missing person near me, and missing people in Wisconsin. So the evidence will show a progression. Evidence will show that before Crystal disappears, the defendant is searching about fatal headshots and widow's benefits. After Crystal is gone, he is searching about cleaning, bones, replacing parts of a vehicle, sulfuric acid, how quickly police can get a warrant, and about missing persons alerts. Then months later, on October 24th, law enforcement returns to that Wood Road property with another search warrant to conduct another, more thorough search of the property. And they search an area near the original burn pit that had not been searched thoroughly the first time. And there they recover additional bone fragments, among them ribs, mandible, tooth material, and another petrous pyramid. And before the end of the state's case, you will hear the defendant's own words. You will hear his interview with Detectives Cotney and Rolfs. And when you hear that interview, I again ask you to listen carefully. Because the evidence will show that Detective Rolfs repeatedly pushed the defendant with the essential question, what did you do to her? And the defendant's answer over and over wasn't an answer to that question at all. Simply, I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is. I don't know where she is. So listen to his words. Listen to his inconsistencies. Listen to his contradictions. And then compare them to what the evidence shows. Compare what he says to what is provable. Compare his explanations to the surveillance videos, the bank records, the acid purchases, the internet searches, the blood in the vehicle, and the remains found on his property. When you step back and look at all of the evidence together, the picture becomes clear. Crystal Rasch was not a woman who walked away from her life. She was moving forward. She was pursuing a divorce. She was hopeful about the future. She was staying connected to her children. Then she disappeared. After she disappeared, false messages appeared in her name. The defendant used her debit card. He bought sulfuric acid. He bought cleaning supplies. He withdrew cash. Before she disappeared, he searched about headshots and widow's benefits. After, about acid, bones, cleaning out a vehicle, and how fast police can get a warrant. He traveled to Adams County. Her blood was found in the vehicle. You'll hear that her remains were found in the burn area on his property. And at the end of this trial, when you've considered all the evidence will not leave you with a mystery. It'll leave you with the truth. That Zachariah Rasch intentionally killed Crystal Rasch and then tried to cover it up by using her identity, spending her money, mutilating and burning her body, and giving the police false information. And at the end of evidence, the state will come back and we'll talk to you again. We're going to ask you to return the only verdict that the evidence supports, which is guilty. Guilty as to both counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you want to just stand up, stretch out for a minute. We've been going now for an hour and some change. And, 45 minutes. All right, we're done. Teresa Howie.
Thank you, Your Honor. This case is about a young woman who, while handling a firearm, in front of Mr. Rasch, discharged it, and tragically killed herself instantly. And to make matters worse, Mr. Rasch believed that he would be blamed for her death, as it was his firearm and the divorce that was pending. He panicked and made a series of incredibly poor decisions. He lied to his friends and family. He raised suspicions. He was targeted by law enforcement, and eventually he was prosecuted for her death. The government is attempting to turn the tragedy of Crystal's death into the travesty of prosecuting Mr. Rasch for her death. And at the end of this case, my partner, Merle Josty, will come before you and ask you to end it once and for all. So how did we get here? So on June 8th, Zachariah Rasch picked up Crystal Rasch from Kleiman. And they were going through a divorce at the time. They had a divorce trial, a divorce hearing set for August of 2024. And by and large, it was going to be the end of their marriage. But they still spent time together. They had children together, and from time to time, they spent time together. And on this weekend, beginning on Saturday until the following Monday and Tuesday, they spent time in Adams County, near Wisconsin Dells, where his grandmother has some trailers on a property there in the woods that's frequented by all the family members. And they spent time together. They behaved as a couple. They went down to the Wisconsin Dells in town, spent time there, eating, enjoying the Dells. But there was one thing that was looming. That's always been looming. In fact, it's been looming for the past 5 years. And that's the children that they have together are not with them. The state of Wisconsin has taken them away. And then, no doubt, Crystal loved her children. And no doubt, she also had a looming date to determine what is going to happen with her children. Will she get to be with them again? Will she have custody with them again? You have to remember, these are young children. They've been 5 years with a foster mother at this time, developing relationships and moving forward. And adoption was on the table. It's a zero-sum game, adoption. Someone's going to have the children and somebody won't. And on June 11th, they went together to Milwaukee, looking to speak with some attorneys. Now, Crystal did have an attorney at the time, but you'll see from the Google searches that they Googled attorneys in Milwaukee and that their cell phone records show that they were there. But they couldn't walk into a law firm and say, look, we want a meeting. They didn't have an appointment. And it was a letdown again. And in that ride home, something happened. And Zach doesn't know exactly what happened as he was driving, but he did have a 9mm in his vehicle. And then, as he was driving, the gun discharged. And then he drove to his property in Kleiman and began a series of incredibly poor decisions because of how it looked. And it didn't look good. It was his firearm. It was a divorce. Clearly the last person to be with her. And he panicked. He did what he could to dispose of her body. He lied to friends and family. He created false Facebook accounts and messages. And he lied to the police. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. There's lots, and he used her bank card to deal with what was going on. Now, there's a lot that we can agree on in this case. And one of the first things that we're going to agree on is, yes, in fact, Crystal Rasch is deceased. We will agree also that Crystal Rasch's remains were found at that property on Wood Road, which is N3251. And their remains were found in a burn pit and also covered with sulfuric acid. We will have few questions for a lot of these witnesses that are going to come forward and testify to that. The forensic anthropologist, the dentist are going to be testifying to things that we agreed. We will have very little, if any, questions for those witnesses. But remember, this is a first-degree intentional homicide case. And there is a lot that we are not going to agree about. Judge Fitzinger has already told you that the prosecution has the burden of proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Every element of the offense. And he mentioned two important words in his opening remarks. Number one is that Mr. Rasch caused Crystal Rasch's death. Two, that he caused her death intentionally. The prosecution has no direct evidence about what happened surrounding her death. It will be based on circumstantial evidence. There's no eyewitness to what happened that they will present. There's no video of the shooting and the gun discharging. There's no audio of it. And so they will be putting together a puzzle for you, or an attempt to do so, but you will see that there are missing pieces. And that they're very crucial missing pieces of what happened. And even the prosecutor in opening statement says, we don't know what caused the death. And that's what we're here for. Causation and intent. Now, there may be a temptation when there are competing theories about what happened to put the evidence on one side and on the other side and kind of weigh it out and see which one sounds better, which one is more correct. And that would be completely appropriate in a civil trial, where they weigh the evidence by what they call preponderance of the evidence. Which side has a little bit more evidence versus beyond a reasonable doubt. There are three questions that I want to leave you with to consider while this case is pending and while listening to the evidence. What element of the offense does this piece of evidence prove or disprove? When we're talking specifically about causation and intent. When the witnesses are testifying on what does it prove and disprove. Number two, can the prosecution rule out that Crystal Rasch shot herself? And if you are left with any lingering questions surrounding the cause of death, ask yourself, are there any lingering questions? Then that's reasonable doubt. And the prosecution cannot turn this tragedy into a travesty without your permission. And at the end of this case, my partner will ask for justice. He will ask you to end this prosecution. But he can only do it with each and every one of you. And he will ask for the only verdict that is supported by the science and the evidence. And that's a verdict of not guilty on the homicide charges. Thank you.
They would call Captain Jason Bake.
Smile right up, please be careful on the ramp when you get to the top, once you stand over the
Do you
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Seated. Pull that microphone up. Speak directly into it.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your first and last name and spell both?
Jason Bake, first name Jason, last name Bake, Boeck.
How are you employed?
I'm employed as the operations captain at Dodge County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you worked for the Dodge County Sheriff's Office?
25 years.
And what does that mean, operations captain?
So I'm in charge of the overall operations of the Sheriff's Office to include oversight of the Patrol Division, Detective Division, and our Communications Division.
How many captains are at the Sheriff's Office?
There are two captains, myself, and we have a jail captain who oversees jail operations.
And then who in a supervisory rank is above you?
Sheriff Schmidt, duly elected official, and Chief Deputy Enright would be the two above me.
So you're number 3 in the sort of chain of command at the Sheriff's Office, correct?
That's correct.
Now, are you aware of an incident that occurred, I guess I should say, a call that came in to the Sheriff's Office on Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, regarding a missing person?
Yes, I am.
And what was the name of that missing person?
Crystal Rasch.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 1. Maybe the most important exhibit of the case, a calendar of June 2024. Does it appear to be an accurate calendar of the month of June in 2024?
It does.
I'd just like to show that to the jury. So the 23rd was what day of the week?
That was a Sunday.
And who receives that call?
Dodge County Dispatch Center.
And just generally, what information does dispatch receive?
In this one, dispatch received information from the stepmother to Crystal Rasch, Diana, who stated that she has not had any physical correspondence with Crystal since June 11th of 2024.
So as a result of that call, does a deputy respond somewhere?
Yes, Deputy Zachary Kukan responded. Deputy Kukan would have been assigned to the southwest part of Dodge County that night, or that afternoon for the shift, and would have responded down there to investigate the missing persons complaint.
Now, were you on duty when this happened, when these calls are coming in?
I was not.
So does Deputy Kukan have another supervisor that he reports to?
There would be typically a sergeant and a lieutenant working. I'm not sure which particular supervisors were working that night.
Is it unusual for the sheriff's office to receive these type of missing person, adult missing person complaints?
They are not in high frequency in Dodge County.
But do they occur, adult missing person complaints?
Yes, they do.
So Deputy Kukan, he goes to Wood Road, and I'm sorry, who is that again?
Deputy Kukan is
Who resides at Wood Road, I'm sorry.
the Rasch family.
And that is Crystal. What relationship are they to Crystal?
That would be Zachary Rasch, who's seated at my right hand here, was a living tenant there, did reside there with his parents.
And he is her husband, or is that correct?
Correct.
And then did Deputy Kukan make other attempts to contact Crystal?
Deputy Kukan did attempt phone contact, and to the best of my knowledge, that it went straight to voicemail.
So that evening, are you aware of anything that happens on, well, let me ask you this. Does the sheriff's office have an online tip submission program?
Yes, we do.
And who can submit tips through that online program?
Anyone can submit a tip.
And so that evening, were there any tips that came in regarding Crystal Rasch?
There was a tip that came in from Crystal Rasch's email address that was later learned was her email address, stating that she was fine.
And based on that email and some of the other information that Deputy Kukan received, what happened on Monday?
So we got together as a administration team. Our administration team typically works Monday through Friday. In the morning hours, we do have a briefing, and that was a point of contact first thing in the morning to discuss that case that took place. We utilized Microsoft Teams, which is a communication tool for our whole sheriff's office to use. That information was made aware through that, and also emails basically stating that there was some concern about a missing person, Crystal, and that we looked into it, discussed it, and felt that it needed immediate attention.
And then on Tuesday, so the 25th, does this get assigned detectives?
Correct. Initially was patrol-based, but we felt that this needed to be investigated by our detective bureau. We currently have 7 detectives along with a lieutenant, and basically we put all our resources into this from our detective division.
And did you, along with an analyst from your department, prepare basically an overview of the law enforcement activities that happened on this case, a timeline of the law enforcement activities that happened on this case?
Yes, we did.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 2. And what is Exhibit 2?
I'm sorry?
What is Exhibit 2?
So this is in reference to the Rasch investigation.
And is that a timeline?
It is a timeline.
And did you participate in putting that timeline together?
I did.
And does that accurately reflect that law enforcement activity that was basically an overview of the law enforcement activity that was conducted on this case?
That is correct.
I'd move Exhibit 2 into evidence.
No.
Receive.
And permission to publish.
You may.
Oh, thank you. And then if we could just, that's fine. If we could zoom in a little bit on it. So starting there at the top, so up here, how do I do the laser thing? Like this, and then this red thing. What does this represent here in the blue?
So that would be the call for service received at 5:39 by our dispatch center. That is time-stamped through our CAD system. The second one would be showing Deputy Kukan being dispatched for a call for service. And then Deputy Kukan arriving at N3251 Wood Road. That is the town of Kleiman, Dodge County, Wisconsin, and the Dodge County Sheriff's Office has jurisdiction in that area.
And what is, you mentioned the word CAD, what is that?
CAD is basically computer-aided reference points that our dispatch basically puts the data into a computer system that's visible to the Sheriff's Office personnel.
And then do you keep a record of all of those notes? So is it are the dispatchers writing notes into a system, or is it somehow computer generated?
No, they are physically putting notes in. Some of it is automated, generated, such as when a deputy would put themselves on scene and route to a call or anything like that. It's automatically time-stamped into the CAD system.
And then is that saved in your system?
It is saved, yes.
And then is that when a case number is generated and an investigation occurs, does that track along with that investigation, those CAD notes?
That's correct.
So you said that there was this online tip that happened in this case, is that something that would go into those CAD notes?
There could be a reference point to that in there. That's not 100% always what happens.
Okay. So now if we could zoom out a little bit and go so we get detectives assigned on the 25th. Very generally speaking, obviously there's going to be lots other people that were involved along the way. But generally speaking, on the 25th, what happens? I mean, what are we doing as far as the investigation?
So we set up a incident command post. So basically what that means is we get our administration staff together inside a room, and we dispatched our investigators out into the field doing open source investigations, looking at any available information that's made available to us. That information is then funneled into to the incident command post, and assignments are divvied out or assigned from that point based upon the information that's learned.
So where are you then on the 25th when this information is coming in?
So I'm in the detective bureau or in their office. Lieutenant Taylor Nails is the direct supervisor of our detective division, and I was working side by side with him. My prominent role for this is really to collaborate and work on getting everybody what they need, signing off on certain assignments. But as far as the direct investigation, that's left to the detectives and Lieutenant Nails, who's overseeing that portion.
And do you know if they were tracking down bank records?
Bank records, surveillance, information was passed along from our investigators that Zachariah Rasch had a Mitsubishi four-door sports utility vehicle, and information was gleaned from that investigation to show that we were able to obtain a license plate and utilize our flock system, which is sporadically placed throughout the state of Wisconsin, which picks up on license plates, and we're able to somewhat identify directions of travel, locations. Outside of that, I think I mentioned banking records, store surveillance, any other intelligence that's learned through that we're looking at and assigning out.
At some point, was there a decision made to apply for a search warrant then for the Wood Road address?
That's correct. In the latter half of June 26th, with all the information that we gathered, we felt that it was necessary for us to apply for a search warrant. We worked in direct correlation or conjunction with the district attorney's office in applying for one.
And so you said latter, really like very early morning hours of June 26th, so the end of the day of the 25th, early morning hours of the 26th, correct?
Yeah, we were working all the way through.
And then was there another residence or another property that was of interest to the sheriff's office?
Investigators learned that the Rasch family had a property in Adams County, specifically 3356 9th Avenue in Springville, which is in Adams County. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office does not have jurisdiction in Adams County, so we were in direct contact with investigators in Adams County to assist us.
And once that search warrant on Wood Road that was served and executed, correct?
That's correct.
What happened with that property? Did we just search it on the 26th or something else?
So we maintained that property all the way through the 27th into the next day. That meant that we had sworn staff there on site to preserve everything at the residence and its property.
And then the Adams County, were there any representatives from the sheriff's office that went up to the Adams County search warrant as well?
That's correct.
And then did the sheriff's office call in for any additional assistance for the search on Wood Road?
The state crime lab.
So why does that happen, and what is their role?
So their role is predominantly evidence collection, scene management, and their job is to assist us, be another resource for our agency to have outside of our sheriff's office purview.
So on the 26th, was the sheriff's office able to locate Crystal Rasch?
The 26th, no.
Was there any indication that she was, starting first with just the Wood Road address, that she was deceased on the 26th?
No.
With respect to the Adams County address, was there some indication that she might be deceased?
That's correct.
And why was that?
The Mitsubishi was located up in Adams County, and there was blood located inside the vehicle.
And Adams County, was there a thorough search of that property, essentially looking for a body?
Correct.
So when I say thorough search, what does that mean to law enforcement?
So that would take a look at outbuildings, property grid searches, which takes a lot of personnel, manpower. So Adams County took care of that portion in conjunction with our investigator was up there by searching the property for any signs of human remains or anything of evidence,
And when
evidentiary value, I should say.
When you say a property grid search, and just walk me through a little bit what that means.
So a grid search basically is we get an overview of the property, so mapping, break it down into sections so you do not miss anything. So typically it's smaller sections to ensure that we're properly documenting, marking. A lot of times we'll use flags to determine our points of entry throughout the furthest point so that we're not missing anything. So that's typically what a grid search would entail.
And then sometimes is it just lines of people just walking the property looking for bones, a person,
Correct.
something like that?
Correct.
So as we get to the end of the day on the 26th, aside from the blood and the Mitsubishi, any sign of Crystal Rasch?
No signs.
So then moving on to the 27th, if we can move over to the timeline on that side, please. What happens on the 27th? And then we have our calendar. What day of the week are we on now on the 27th?
June 27th would be a Thursday.
Okay. So what happens then on the Thursday, June 27th?
So the search continues on up in Adams County. We still have representation from the sheriff's office up there working with them. We are informed of 5 items that were seized from the scene up there and maintained. Going back directly to Dodge County, we undertook a very large, vast area search, really concentrating around the Wood Road property, anything adjacent to it. As you can see, we searched ditch lines, land on County Road J, County Road W, which is all, we'll say, in close proximity of the Wood Road address.
And what does that mean, search? We just have a person walking down the roadway, or what does that look like, those searches?
So some of those searches, the larger areas, once again, we're doing grid searches. Some of those where you'll see along roadways, we're searching for anything in the ditch, anything that may be possibly discarded, to include anything of evidentiary value, human remains, or anything that would pique of interest to law enforcement.
Was this just the Dodge County Sheriff's Office participating in this search, or were other agencies assisting?
There were other agencies. We used, under mutual aid, we brought in outside agencies due to the large volume and large scale of the search. We needed a lot of personnel, and we had to seek assistance outside of our office.
And then at some point later, does the sheriff do something else?
Yes, Sheriff Schmidt conducted a press conference. Purpose of the press conference was to get the information out to the public, to see if we can get any potential tips, leads, anything to include the whereabouts of Crystal Rasch, or anything that would assist law enforcement in any sort of investigation.
The evening of the 27th, so this is now Thursday, any signs of Crystal?
No signs of Crystal Rasch.
So now moving to the 29th. We can move over to that portion of the. What happens on the 29th?
So once again, you can see
And I'm sorry, this is now Saturday, right?
June 29th is Saturday, yes. As you can see, a lot of searching again, areas, once again, that we were unable to cover. The first day, there's 2 retention ponds or wastewater treatment. The wastewater treatment plant for the town of Kleiman was searched along with ditches, roadways. Once again, we're searching for anything of evidentiary value.
And the pond searches, did we have to call in for other agency assist for those searches?
Yes.
And is there a specific kind of team that assists us with that?
Typically, we call in, a dive team to search. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office does not have a dive team.
And when you say a dive team, do those people have some type of specialty training?
Yes, they're underwater dive certified, where they're able to go. They also are trained on evidence retention, evidence recovery, proper techniques on how to maintain evidence.
Now moving to, so Saturday the 29th, we're still searching up in Adams County at this time too, correct?
That's correct.
On Saturday the 29th, any evidence of Crystal Rasch?
There's no evidence.
So now moving to Sunday, June 30th. What happens that date?
Once again, continue to search. The search then moved back to the N3251 Wood Road, which is the Rasch residence. In particular, a fire pit area, which was of particular interest.
And then on the 30th, so now we're basically 1 week after that initial call came in, correct?
That's correct.
And what happens on the 30th?
On the 30th, our investigators located skeletal remains in the fire pit. That was the first sign of anything of evidentiary value of significance in reference to skeletal remains.
And when you say skeletal remains, like a whole skeleton or something else?
Tooth and bones.
Was that it? Did we then say, okay, we found this tooth and bone, or do we keep searching?
We keep searching.
And so when do we do essentially our final 2 searches?
So the span between June and October, you can see there's some significant time span there. Took a lot of information to go through, gather. Our investigators worked tirelessly throughout trying to put the pieces together of what occurred with all the information that was gathered, which led us back to the Wood Road property in October.
And then what do we find in October?
So in October, back at the Wood Road address, we did find skeletal remains, rib, tooth, the Petrarius pyramid, and mandibula.
I don't have any other questions for this witness.
Cross.
Just a few questions. Captain Bake, it's Captain, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You were present at the time that the search warrant was executed the first time on approximately 12:53 a.m. on June 26, 2024?
That's correct.
Okay. And so you were present when Mr. Rasch was taken into custody?
That's correct.
And you were involved in placing him under arrest?
I was.
And at that time, when he was placed under arrest, you would agree that he was cooperative with you?
I would agree.
He didn't try to run from the police on that occasion?
He did not try to run.
And he didn't try to fight you?
No.
And from that moment forward, he was taken into custody pending this investigation?
That's correct.
No other questions?
Redirect.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, you can step down. Next, actually, this would be a good time. We'll take 15 minutes. All right, we are adjourned.
I'm pretty decent at that. So. I'm assuming I can release and formally ask for another thing and release. Yeah, fake. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how he's going to shut me up. So I told him under no circumstances can he be on the stairs in the sheriff's office at all.
Oh, the left.
There's only one second shifter who can testify, and so if those guys bring out a break downstairs and have it on, that's fine.
No one
But, I
that's.
mean, my detectives are great.
That's enough. So you got Free and Heather.
And Heather, yeah. And then, I mean, that'll take us close to 4 o'clock anyway, so.
Yeah.
If we-
First day's always the longest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that they're tired, they know what to expect them to, so.
Got a great one too.
be seated. All right, we are back on the record.
They just went to grab a file, Judge.
It's not a problem. All right, appearances are the same. Bring in the jury. Call your next witness, please.
The state calls Diana Free.
Ma'am, come on right up, come right up around the court reporter to my right, to your left. Please be careful. There's a ramp there when you get to the top. I want you to stand and raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Counsel.
Ma'am, can you please state your name and spell both your first and last name?
Sure. Diana Free, Diana Free.
And how are you employed right now?
I am retired.
And what did you do before you were retired?
I was a cook.
And where do you reside?
I reside in Juneau, Wisconsin.
And how long have you lived in Juneau, Wisconsin?
Juneau, we've been here for 15 years. Prior to that, we lived in Reeseville for 18 years.
How long have you lived in Dodge County?
Probably close to 40 years.
At some point while you resided in Dodge County, did you meet Crystal? At that time would have been Crystal Free, correct?
Yes, I did.
And when did you meet Crystal?
That would be in 1992.
Okay, and I'm going to show you Exhibit 3. There's an extra calendar there. Can you tell me what Exhibit 3 is?
It's a picture of Crystal.
And is that a picture of Crystal shortly before she disappeared?
Yes.
And I move Exhibit 3 into evidence and permission to publish it to the jury.
No
Any
objection,
objection?
Your Honor.
Received.
So you said you met Crystal back in 1992. So how old was she then?
She was 5 years old.
And how did you come to meet Crystal?
She moved into the mobile home park in Reesville next door to friends, a friend that I had, and I met her father, and we became friends and started dating, and we married in 1997, and we are still together.
And what is her father's name?
Her father's name is Dale Free, Dalefree.
And does she have any siblings?
Yes, she has a sister, April Lacoste, and a brother, Christopher Free.
And do you know how to spell April's last name?
Lacosse.
And are April and Chris local, or do they live somewhere else?
No, they live up in Michigan.
Okay.
April lives in Rapid River, Michigan, and Christopher lives in Escanaba.
So in 1997, after you got married, did Crystal reside with you and Dale full-time or something else?
Yes. There was a 1 year period of time, I don't remember exactly what year, but after we were married, where she went to live with her mother in Texas, but then she came back home and she stayed with us from that point on.
So what is your relationship to Crystal?
I was her stepmom. I was mom.
So basically, was Crystal a lifelong resident of Dodge County?
Yes.
And where did Crystal go to school?
Crystal went to school at Dodgeland.
Okay, and do you know if she graduated from Dodgeland?
She did graduate from Dodgeland. It was a bit challenging for her. Crystal had some learning disabilities, which made classes challenging for her, but she persevered and graduated with her class, I believe, in 2006.
And did Crystal ever hold a full-time job?
No.
How did Crystal support herself?
Well, we supported Crystal until she moved out of the house, and then she had applied for Social Security, I believe.
Okay, so at some point, did Crystal get married to someone?
She married Zach
And what is Zach's last name?
Rasch.
And Mr. Rasch, is he in the courtroom?
Yes, he is, in the white shirt.
And you pointed in the direction just of the council table. You said white shirt. No.
Correct, the white shirt with the tie, bald man.
Thank you. And do you know, maybe not the exact year, but approximately how long ago they got married?
I believe it was around 2016. I actually wasn't very happy about the arrangement.
So I want to go back to Crystal's, so she received Social Security at some point, correct?
Correct.
And was she living independently? Did she have a budget?
Yes, Crystal was very frugal when it came to her money. Her bills were paid, and she squirreled money away like a squirrel. I mean, she just saved every penny. She was a very frequent Goodwill, thrift store, garage sale shopper. She often got food from the food pantry to subsidize her needs.
Did she have a driver's license?
Yes, she did. And a vehicle, and she owned a car.
Okay. And where, in 2024, where was Crystal residing?
In Kleiman, Wisconsin.
In the village or township, or?
In the town. In town.
Do you know what street she lived on?
I can't remember the
That's
name of this, I'm sorry.
So
I think it was just Main Street.
Okay.
I believe it was just Main Street.
prior to getting married to Zach, did you see Crystal regularly?
Periodically, we saw Crystal. She entered that I am 18 and you can't tell me what to do stage. So we still had contact with her, but she was hell-bent to show us she could take care of herself in the same premise. So we always had contact with Crystal, but it wasn't necessarily daily.
And how, at some point, did her and Zach have children?
Yes, they did.
And how many children did her and Zach have together?
She and Zach had 4 children.
And then did she have any other children?
Yes, she had 1 child prior to meeting Zach.
So prior to around 26,
Yes.
16.
Yeah.
And then at some point prior to 2024, had you been seeing Crystal less?
We did go through a period of time where we were basically estranged. A series of incidents occurred that we didn't necessarily agree with Crystal's choices on, and some incidents started occurring at our home that we were correlating with these other incidents. And so we told Crystal that until she got her priorities straight, that we needed to maybe take a step back.
So sometime in late 2023, did you
Yes.
sort of reunite with Crystal?
Yes, we reunited as a family in November of 2023, and Crystal came for Christmas along with her siblings and aunts and uncles and grandparents, and I have a large gathering for Christmas every year, and Crystal was there.
Did you learn anything about the state of her marriage during that Christmas gathering?
Yes, that she had filed for divorce from Zach, and she was excited to move on with her life without him in it.
And where was she residing then at the end of 2023?
In 2023, she was residing at her home in Kleiman.
Previous to that, was that the marital home?
Yes.
Okay. Did at some point did you become aware that she was planning on moving out of that house?
Yes, we discussed that with her. Again, with Crystal's learning disabilities, sometimes she didn't quite understand things. So she was under the impression that she would get to keep her home after the divorce. And we had to talk with her, and we actually, explained to her how Wisconsin divorce law is, and that the house would have to be sold, or she would have to pay Zach out for the home if she wanted to keep it. And then we also instructed her to talk with her lawyer about that, so he could, help her understand that this is what was going to happen, what would happen.
And then did you help her navigate finding some other housing situation?
I helped her in that I told her because of her disabilities and that she should go to Dodge County, and that there were people there that could help her find subsidized housing or something to that effect, disabled housing, and she did that.
And was it your understanding that she was going to move into subsidized housing.
Yes, she actually went and saw them and filled out all of her paperwork, and they had her set up to move into an apartment in a subsidized apartment in Lowell, Wisconsin.
And do you know what date she was scheduled to move into that property?
July 1st, 2024.
And were you and her father, Dale, helping her at all to move her belongings?
Yes, we were. She actually procured a storage locker at the Moose Lockers at 26 and 33. When they legally separated, Zachariah was ordered to remove his property from the home, and he never did. So she had concerns because all of his things were there. And so we told her if it would make it easier for her, she should procure this locker, move just her belongings into that locker, and leave everything of Zach's in the house. And then we would move her then from the storage locker to her new apartment.
With respect to the house, did you ever do anything with her to help her understand sort of the ownership and who is on the title of the house?
Yes, towards the end of, beginning of May, I believe it was, and end of March, beginning of May, Mary Rasch hired an attorney in an attempt to throw Crystal out of the house, claiming that she was the owner of the home.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike, lacking foundation,
So
relevance.
I'll rephrase the question.
Okay.
Motion's granted, it's stricken.
And I'll ask a more directed question. Did you take Crystal to a title company to help?
Yes.
And was Crystal the only person on the title for the home?
Yes.
Was there a co-signer on the loan for the home?
There was a co-signer on the loan.
And who was that person?
Mary Rasch. Mary and Scott Rasch.
So now moving forward to June, so that, and I'm sorry, you went to that title
Would have been in May.
of 2024, correct?
Yes.
And this is before or after she learned about the low-income housing?
Right about the same time. It would be like a week or so prior. It all was kind of, first we proved to her that the home was titled to her, and then we worked on that the house would have to be sold, and instructed her to speak to her attorney. And then she went, and after she spoke to her attorney and, just double check that what we were telling her were facts, then she came and talked to us about finding housing. And we sent her to, told her to go and see Dodge County so they could help her find the subsidized housing she would need.
Are you aware of any steps that had been taken to put the Kleiman Main Street home on the market to be sold?
It was not yet listed on the market, but she knew that it would have to be, but she was going to move out of the home first.
Okay. And at the time that this was happening, was there anybody else residing in the home with her?
Yes, her natural mother, Brenda Acosta.
Do you know how to spell her last name?
Acosta.
Okay. So now I want to sort of fast forward to June of 2024, and I'm going to show you, if we can, Exhibit 1. I'm not sure, did I leave it up there with?
I just have two up here.
Just have the picture.
It's up on the screen too, but there's a paper copy for you. So in June of 2024, did you see Crystal at all?
Yes, I did.
And when did you see, when was the last time you saw her about, if you can remember?
On Thursday, June 6th.
Okay. And what was the nature of your interaction? Why did you see her that day, if you can remember?
She came to the house. She just stopped in, which she was doing quite often during that time. She would stop to pick up boxes from us, or, you know, if she had any questions, or she would just stop in and let us know what was going on in her world. She was in the process of packing, and she had talked with us about perhaps going up to visit her sister and brother up in Michigan, and we just we didn't want to tell Crystal what to do, so we just had a conversation of, do you think you have time to do all these different things? Because she had spoke about camping. She had talked about going up to visit April, packing that she had to finish. And we just found with working with her that and talking with her that it was easier to let her make her own choice, and just said, do you think you have enough time to get all those things done? And she thought for a second, and she said, well, yeah, I probably don't have time to go and see April, because when she would go up there, she could stay longer. You know, she didn't have, if she thought she was going for 2 days, she could stay for 5.
Got it.
And I just didn't want her to run short of time to finish her packing and stuff.
What was her demeanor like?
She was so happy. Dale and I actually talked after she left, because prior to that, from Christmas until that day, she was scared. She was concerned. Her demeanor was just she was very anxious. She was always looking over her shoulder and jumpy, and
But on June,
that particular day she came and she was just excited. She was excited for the divorce. She was excited for the move. She was excited to start her life over again and be the one who's in control of her life. And it made us happy. It made us very happy to see her like that, because she had been distraught for so long before that.
and so after June 6th, did you and Dale go somewhere?
We left for our property on June 14th. We did talk with Crystal when she was there. Part of the reason she stopped was to ask if we would be home for Father's Day so that she could come and bring Dad his stuff. And we told her that we were leaving on Friday the 14th and we would be gone until the 23rd. But as always, we have our phones. If you need to reach us, just call. And, you know, we could be outside, but I would come in the house and check my phone several times if I was outside doing other things.
So between the 6th and the 14th, you had no contact with her, right?
No.
And was that necessarily unusual?
No. And especially given the laundry list of things that she wanted to get done with, you know, she was talking, spoke about going camping with a friend the weekend of the 8th.
Okay. So then did you return from your trip to your property on the 23rd?
We returned from there on the 23rd, yes.
And without going too much into what other people said, when you returned on the 23rd, did you have concern about Crystal's whereabouts?
Well, actually, we got a phone call from Crystal's sister April on the 20th.
Okay.
Asking if we had spoken with her. And I said that no, we had not, but I explained all the things to April that Crystal, had on her plate so that we weren't overly concerned because, again, we didn't speak every day. It may be a couple days a week in between. It depends on what she had cooking. And April made a comment that she hadn't talked to Crystal since the 11th, and that a friend hadn't talked to her. She said her friend from Waupun. I did not know who this person was. And so I just instructed her to keep trying to get a hold of her and that we would try and get a hold of her. And we would be returning on the 23rd. We had our father-in-law along with us on that trip. So we dropped him off in Watertown, where he resides. And then we came back into Kleiman and stopped at her house. I stayed in the car. I do not have a great relationship with Brenda, and it just keeps it easier if I just stay out. So Dale went in the house and spoke with Brenda, and she told him...
Objection here.
Sorry. And he went in the house and spoke with her. Then he came outside of the house and looked into the garage. And Crystal's vehicle was in the garage. And then he got in the car and he told me what Brenda had told him. And we went home to Juneau. When we got home, I called April. And I said, have you got a hold of her yet? And she said no. And again, she repeated that, not even her friend from Waupun has talked to her. And I just asked, who is this friend? I don't know who you're talking about. And then she said, Robin. And as soon as she said that name, my heart fell into my stomach. Because I knew something was wrong. Because I knew she talked to Robin every day.
And so what did you do next then?
So I hung up on April. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta call the police. Something is very, very wrong. And I called 911 and I spoke to the gal who answered the phone and I explained the situation and hung up with her. And shortly thereafter, I got a phone call from an officer and I explained the situation to him and gave him, the information of people and such, and he went to do his investigation, and he called later on that night and said that he didn't feel he could put her down as a missing person due to statements that were made by Brenda and by Zach Rasch. And I pretty much flipped out on the officer because there were just many reasons. There were many instances of things to cause me concern, and I impressed on him that I needed him to do his due diligence and check records and things, and because I couldn't accept that he couldn't even put her down as a missing person. And then the phone call ended with him, and I pretty much had most of a sleepless night. And early in the morning, I believe somewhere around 7 a.m., I received a phone call from him, again, saying that he had done his due diligence, and that the things that he discovered were basically above his pay grade, and that everything, he had spoken to his sergeant, he called his sergeant, he told me at like 4 in the morning, and they decided to turn it all over to the detectives and that a detective would be contacting us after that point.
Okay. And then detectives did contact you?
Yes, and then
correct?
and detectives contacted us later that morning.
I don't have anything else for direct.
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. One moment. Good afternoon, ma'am. In June of 2024, Crystal was living with her mother, Brenda Acosta.
Correct.
Okay, and you mentioned on direct that you didn't necessarily see eye to eye with Miss Acosta.
No, I did not, and these things actually go back to way back in the very beginning. Brenda Acosta moved away from the children, and prior to that occurring, there were just a lot of instances of things that occurred with the kids and their care or lack of care, etc., when they were in her custody, etc., that we just didn't see eye to eye on things.
But simply put, you didn't see eye to eye.
Yeah, we didn't see eye to eye.
Okay, and you weren't particularly happy about her coming into Crystal's life.
No, I wouldn't say I wasn't happy about it. I actually didn't know about it until, she had been there well, I can't say that either.
Well, let me just be more specific.
Well,
Brenda Acosta just kind of moved to Wisconsin.
yeah,
in like,
she came for a visit and never left.
I know. Let me just finish my question.
I'm sorry.
And I guess you kind of answered it. She just came unexpectedly, correct?
Yes,
All right.
that's my understanding.
And this is Brenda's biological mother? Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Crystal's biological mother,
biological
yes.
Okay. And was that difficult for Crystal to handle, to navigate that situation with?
Yes.
Okay. And there was also, so she was living with her for like 3 years, is that correct?
Somewhere in that time frame, I believe.
All right. And I mean, at some point, Crystal tried to lock her mother out of her home on Main Street.
Yes.
And Crystal was informed that, I think by you maybe, or your husband, that she needed to go through the eviction process.
Correct.
All right. So at least there was some, and that tension was existing in June of 2024 between her and her mother.
Yeah, well, yes, there was tension between the two of them, yes.
So that was a stressor on Crystal.
A slight stressor.
Okay. You were aware, obviously, that Crystal's 4 children that she has with Zachariah Rasch were in foster care.
Correct.
And they were in foster care for 5 years.
Correct.
Did you have an opportunity to engage and interact with those children over those 5 years?
Not me personally, because I am the step. So the court, or however it works, didn't acknowledge me. Dale was able to interact with the children.
And from your understanding, those 4 children, they were thriving and doing well in foster care.
Yes.
Then in July of 2024, there was essentially was going to be a hearing to determine the future of those of their 4 children.
I was not aware of that hearing until everything else.
So that's something that Crystal didn't talk to you about?
No.
Is it fair to say that it was distressing for her to be away from her children?
No. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, of course, she wanted to be physically with her children at all times, but she had access to her children via phone, via, she could call her kids, she could see her kids, she had regular visitation with her kids.
Okay, but the bulk of the raising of her children was by a different family, right?
Correct.
All right. Did you know that Crystal made plans and actually went to Milwaukee to consult with an attorney with regards to the child custody?
I'm going to object based on relevance and her ability to answer that question.
I'm asking if she was aware.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I was not aware of that, no.
Were you mentioned that Crystal told you that she was going camping with a friend,
Yes,
and that was on June 6th.
correct.
Okay. Did you ask her what that friend's name was?
No, I did not. I just assumed it was Robin.
Okay. So she didn't mention that it was Zach Rasch.
No.
And I guess by using the term friend, you didn't think it would be Zach Rasch. It would be someone.
Honestly, Zach Rasch is the last person I thought Crystal would be spending time with.
But you've learned through the course of this case that she had, in fact, spent time with Zach Rasch.
Yes,
Okay. Were you aware that Crystal had taken courses to get her CCW?
no,
Okay, and I mean by that is concealed carry weapons.
no.
Has she ever talked to you about weapons?
So I'm going to object to this. I do not believe that there's any evidence that she actually partook in those classes.
Overruled.
I'm asking you just if you're aware.
I'm not aware of her taking any class.
That's fine.
If I may approach you on it. So Mark. I'm going to approach and hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 4.
Sure.
Have you seen that document before?
No,
Okay, thank you. One moment, Your Honor. Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Ma'am, are you a gun owner?
yes, I am.
And is your husband Dale a gun owner?
Correct.
And did you try to teach your children about firearms?
Yes, we taught our children firearm safety, etc. We offered to teach them to hunt, to join the family, because we are hunters.
Did Crystal ever want to go shooting with the family?
No,
And why not?
Crystal was terrified of guns from the time she was small. When we would go to the range, you take your kids along, they go stand over there and sit down and behave themselves. But when we were out on our property and with targets set up and such, as soon as a shot would ring out, she would grab her ears and drop, cower and start to cry. She was not a weapon person.
Did you ever see her handle a firearm as an adult?
Never.
Did you ever hear her talk about firearms as an adult?
I spoke with her about firearms in probably, I want to say it would be in April or May at the latest, early May. Again, with her fears that she was dealing with at that particular time. We were trying to see what we could do to make her feel more comfortable. So we offered to take her to purchase a firearm. We offered to take her to the range, you know, whatever we needed to do, and she unequivocally said no, that she's afraid of guns and she didn't want anything to do with them. And then we moved on and discussed some other ways of protecting herself, and ended on pepper spray was something that she would be comfortable with.
I have nothing further.
One moment, Your Honor.
And folks, while he's doing that, just one thing. You heard an objection was made. You heard that I struck the testimony. And what I want you to be clear about is that when I tell you that testimony is stricken, you need to just simply erase it from your mind, as if it didn't occur. That's what that means for your own information, okay?
If I may approach again, Your Honor, for Exhibit 4. I'm handing you again Exhibit number 4.
Sure.
Here where it says name, you recognize that as Crystal Rasch's handwriting, correct?
Yes, that looks like Crystal's writing.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything further.
All right, you can sit down.
Thank you.
Next witness.
State calls Heather Doherty.
All right, ma'am, come on up. Come right around the court reporter. To my right, your left. Please be careful. There's a ramp that leads up to the witness stand. When we get to the top, I want you to stand and raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Heather Doherty, Heather Doherty.
And were you a foster parent for Crystal and Zachary Rasch's children?
Yes.
And how long have you done that?
November 6, 2019.
Now, because of your role with the children as a foster parent, did you have regular contact with Crystal Rasch?
Yes.
And were you also able to have some level of contact or familiarity with Zachary Rasch as well?
A little bit.
Would you say to a lesser degree than you had with Crystal?
Absolutely.
Now, were you aware that there were termination of parental rights proceedings involving both Crystal and Zach?
Yes.
And were those proceedings separate from each other?
Yes.
Now, during the time that you knew Crystal, can you describe from your perspective what her relationship with her children was like?
Crystal was amazing with her children. She was lower functioning, so she needed extra guidance and support along the way, but she loved her children very much.
And did you have all 4 of Crystal's children that she had with Zach?
Yes.
Now, specifically during the time of around May and into June of 2024, was Crystal continuing to maintain contact with her children?
Yes.
And in what ways? In what ways did she do that?
Regular phone calls, and she had visits every Monday.
And for the most part, was Crystal continuing to maintain those visits?
Yes.
And you said that the visits were regular, as in every week.
Yes.
Did there come a pattern where the visits were set for a certain day of the week?
I'm sorry?
Did there develop a pattern where the visitation was generally scheduled for a certain day each week?
They're every Monday. Is that what you're asking?
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And what was the process concerning those Monday visits?
They were supervised visits at the county building, so Crystal had to check in with the supervisor on Friday to verify that there was going to be a visit the following Monday.
And in those weeks in May and into June, you mentioned there was an active termination of parental rights proceedings, but was Crystal continuing to make progress towards maintaining contact with her kids, from your perspective?
Yes. Crystal believed that she was hoping that once Zach's rights were terminated, she would get the kids back. And she was making plans on, if that didn't happen, what our relationship would look like and what her relationship would look like with the children after adoption.
So to your knowledge, was Crystal aware that adoption was a possibility?
Absolutely.
And that it would be possible that you specifically would adopt the children?
Yes.
And was it your understanding that even if you were to adopt the children, could that be described as what's referred to as like an open adoption?
I'm not sure if it would be considered open adoption, but I made it very clear to Crystal that I knew the importance of their relationship, and as long as it remained healthy and safe, that she would be able to continue to be a part of their lives.
Had anything from your knowledge happened in early June or in May of 2024 that would have affected Crystal's ability to see her children?
Disappearing? Is that what you're...
No. So was there anything in your in working with Crystal and through that process, was there anything to indicate prior to Crystal disappearing that contact that she had with her children, those regular visits, anything that happened that would indicate that was going to end?
No.
What was your perspective on Crystal's attitude at this time?
She was optimistic. She was hoping that she convinced everyone that she left Zach for good, and that she checked all of the boxes that the state required her to do. And so, yeah, she was optimistic. She knew that she was still going to be able to maintain a relationship with her children either way.
Was part of doing those things that she needed to do securing a living arrangement or like living a place to live?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was she working towards getting her own apartment?
Yes.
So before June of 2024, generally speaking, how often did you and Crystal communicate?
I would say 2 to 3 times a week. And sometimes that was a 2-minute conversation, and sometimes that was a 20-message text thread.
And so that contact was primarily through phone or texting?
Yes. And then, yeah, phone and texting.
So I want to direct your attention to June 10th of 2024. Was that the day before you were scheduled to have a visit?
No, June 10th, she was supposed to have a visit.
And did you receive a communication concerning that visit on that day?
Yes.
And what was the general nature of that message?
Crystal had texted me saying that she had strep throat and that she did not want to get the kids sick and that she would be canceling the visit.
And that visit was supposed to have occurred on June 10th?
Yes.
What did you do after receiving that message?
I said, okay, I hope you feel better. And then I sent her a couple pictures of her son's kindergarten graduation.
Did you ever receive any response to those messages or those pictures?
No, which is very unlike her. Usually when I send a picture of her kid, she follows back with a thank you and 5 or 6 text messages asking about more details about her kid and what they were doing and when it was and if they had fun. And so it was very odd that she did not respond after that.
And after that June 10th after that June 10th text, did you ever receive any message or contact from Crystal?
No, I did not.
Now, around that same time, did you learn that Zach Rasch decided to voluntarily terminate his parental rights?
Yes.
Was that a surprise to you?
Objection, relevance.
You may answer.
Yes.
Before that, had there been any indication that Zach intended to voluntarily terminate his parental rights?
No.
So from your perspective, before communication stopped in June, was Crystal still engaged in maintaining a relationship with her children?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Cross.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. You were mentioned that Crystal Rasch had supervised visits with her children at the county building.
Yes.
Okay. Did she ever have unsupervised visits with her children?
No.
And this is for the entire 5 years that you've been a foster parent to her children? She's never had an unsupervised visit?
No, I think they came to a concert one time, and there wasn't anyone there to supervise, but I was there.
And you mentioned that you sent pictures of her son's kindergarten graduation.
Yes.
Is that something that she could have attended?
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, to your knowledge, based on the ongoing legal issues with her children, there was nothing preventing her from going to her child's kindergarten graduation, was there?
Transportation?
Okay. Like I say, there's nothing legally preventing her.
No.
Okay. And you're aware Crystal had a vehicle, correct?
It depended on how often it was working.
Okay. And so you've, it's been 5 years, and the children are, is it Bryson? The names of the children, Bryson, is that one of the names?
Yes.
Okay. And he's been doing well in foster care with you, is that right?
He's adopted.
Okay. Fully adopted?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time in June 2024, he was doing well at that time.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to refer to all this, how the children were doing in June of 2024. Because Crystal had an upcoming hearing in July of 2024, correct?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, you and your husband had taught him to ride a bicycle without training wheels?
Yes.
Okay, and that he's got a great relationship with your husband as well, right?
Yes.
He likes working in the garage with him?
Yes.
And you have a close bond with him?
Yes.
So at the time in June 2024, things are going very well with you and Bryson and your husband, correct?
Yes.
And obviously at the upcoming hearing in July, that's something the judge would consider is how well the children are adapting to foster care, correct?
Correct.
And then there's another child, I'll just give the year of birth is 2013. And would it fair to say that she continues to love to be the center of attention?
Yes.
Okay, and she was taking clarinet lessons in the summer?
Yes.
And she expressed to you that she would like to be adopted by you and Tyler.
If that was her only choice, yes.
No, I'm just, is that a fair statement?
No.
So at a home visit in March of 2024, you would disagree with the statement JoJo expressed to the CCR worker that she would like to be adopted by Heather and Tyler. Is that a correct statement?
JoJo would like to stay with us, but her mother is her mother.
I understand.
She doesn't know at that age what her options are and what her options are not.
Okay, but it's fair to say that things are going well with JoJo and you and Tyler in June of 2024.
It is fair to say that things are going great with my entire family, correct?
Okay. And again, these are things that the judge would consider at that permanency hearing in July.
Correct.
And this was the same for the other two children as well.
Correct.
Is that they were adapting well to living with you and your foster care with you and your husband, correct?
Correct.
Okay, nothing further, thank you.
All right. A few more questions?
Just a few more.
Go ahead.
So the judge would also consider at any further hearing what Crystal was doing, correct?
Correct.
And Crystal was continuing to make efforts and work towards reunification with her children, correct?
Correct.
And during this time, did you ever observe anything from Crystal that indicated that she was going to give up on making those efforts?
Absolutely not.
I have nothing else.
Recross.
Well, was part of Crystal's reunification plan to not be with Mr. Rasch?
That was part of it, yeah, but he
Okay.
made that difficult.
Yeah, in June, the middle of June, she was with him, right?
Yes.
Did she tell you that?
No. You can tell
Okay.
when she's with them and when she wasn't. Her demeanor changed.
Okay, thank you, nothing further.
All right, you can step down. I'm assuming that's all the witnesses the state has for today. Is that correct?
Yes, that is all the witnesses for today, and I can let the jury know that at least for today, we are ahead of schedule.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's the situation. Good news, you're off before 4:20 today. There's a couple things you should be aware of. First of all, you should understand that this is being streamed live, and I'm telling you this for a very important reason. Family may try and contact you regarding that. You should not. I'm telling it to you because I don't want you to act like you're surprised by that. If you look in the back, you can see there's a camera in the back of the courtroom, and that's court TV that is filming this live. So I want you to be aware of that, and I wanted you to be aware of it because if somebody contacts you, you should not discuss what's going on here, and you should not in any way talk with anybody about this. And if someone tells you that, your response normally, right? We all are. Here's our normal response, right? You immediately, somebody says something to you, and you Google it, or you try and search it out using one of the various social media apps. Don't do that. You are not to do that. Remember, I told you earlier, you are not to seek information about this trial. And I would ask that you are very vigilant about that. And I trust that you are going to keep that responsibility, keep the responsibility not to discuss the case. And certainly you can, if you get home and your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend says, "Where were you? Obviously you're in court today. Obviously you're in the middle of a trial. Obviously you got selected for jury duty." But that's the end of the discussion. I mean, they obviously, and you're coming back tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So you can obviously tell them your whereabouts, but that's the end of the discussion. And please, please, please be respectful. Don't go and look at anything about this trial on any media, radio, television, or the internet. All right, so that's the rule for today. Now, tell me about you folks tomorrow. Can we start at 8:30? Is that doable? Is there? I don't even know if kids are still in school, but anybody have kids they have to drop off? Any concern about getting here at 8:30? No. All right. Everybody's nodding. No, there is no concerns. And for your own edification, the order of the court for this trial specifically says that, your image will not be displayed. Period. And that's why you noted that they were not filming during jury selection. So, as I said, you need to be aware of that, but just be aware of it and please don't do anything with it. So, we'll see you tomorrow, 8:30. Bailiffs will give you some information about coming and going.